This is Authentic Analysis with AI
and K,
where we'll be discussing the most controversial crime cases from across the globe.
as well as other important topics. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe.
So, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about the Elisa Lam case. We're assuming you already know a little bit about it, but if you don't, Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old Canadian student, and she travelled to the Cecil Hotel.
Cecil Hotel in LA.
She travelled to the Cecil Hotel in LA.
So basically, we're not really going to explain the whole case. Just going to give our opinions and what we thought. Maybe a little bit of facts, but I'll say watch the Netflix documentary first, and what else you can find on YouTube, and then come back to this video.
Or just Wikipedia it, because you'll save a lot of time. Because it was four how long was it? Four episodes.
Or maybe, I don't know if it was kind of been an hour each.
I feel like it was at least an hour each.
Yep, Elisa Lam visited the Cecil Hotel in LA in 2013. So basically, in a Netflix documentary, they talk about how I think she said that she felt like, I don't know if she felt like she was a loner or people described it that way. But she spent a lot of time on social media and, I don't know, was it Pinterest? And
Tumblr.
Oh, Tumblr, yeah. And
she was a writer. She liked blogging and stuff like that.
So yeah, a lot of the things that she said basically help a lot. Some people come to the conclusion of her death. I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing. I guess when you post on social media all the time, I guess it might give people insight. It might not. You leave that digital footprint.
So eventually she was found in the water tank on the top of the hotel.
But the whole hotel, right, it has some history behind it, and I know you probably watched it, or I'm hoping that you watched the Netflix thing. So it said that there's been 16 mysterious deaths that's happened in that hotel. I wouldn't want to stay there.
Serial killer. At least 2 serial killers have stayed there.
Yeah, one being Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker. If you want us to talk about the case, let us know.
Yeah, so part of it was a hotel, and part of it was where people were staying for a long period. I mean, I've never stayed in a hotel like that. I mean, that was why.
But you might not have noticed though. How would you know if people were living there?
I mean, yeah, you're right. But I mean, I've stayed in like hotels like, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't know, but based on the types of hotels I've stayed in, I doubt that they run like that. But yeah, you could be right. I could have stayed in one and not known. So people lived there, and some people were staying there temporarily. Some people staying there long term. Some people were staying there temporarily. But why it was a shock to me, because like I said, number one, I didn't know that. But also, it is in a part of America called Skid Row, where a lot of down and out and homeless people live. So I think that contributed to the type of clientele that was in the hotel.
The whole Skid Row thing, I've never known about it really until, well, not really. I didn't know about it until I watched the documentary, and they're showing. I mean, I guess it was a good build-up, because obviously they explained about Skid Row. I don't know, it's kind of a good... I don't know how to...
So Skid Row was a long street in America where a lot of homeless people live.
Obviously they showed that part of the documentary, and you're thinking, okay, when you don't know the story, you're thinking, okay...
I mean, they might have been lining up for the Cecil Hotel, who knows?
Well, you never know. But I thought that obviously, when the case first started, I thought they were trying to make a connection with her being so close to Skid Row, and that's why she was found deceased. So there's a lot of ups and downs in the Netflix thing, because you go from, they've taken a lot of twists and turns, and I guess that's how the case was happening in 2013. People was going through a lot of ups and downs in the case and what people thought. Explained about the history of the Cecil Hotel, that back in the, I guess, I think they had people passing away in that hotel from the 20s, from like 1927, I think. And like you said, you had Richard Ramirez that was staying there, and there was another Australian serial killer, I forgot his name, that was staying at the hotel. So they were just explaining about all the mysterious things that happened there. And it's been recorded, I think 16 people have died in that hotel under mysterious circumstances. And what makes it even worse is that somebody's died after Elisa Lam. That's a large scale case and someone is dying after that. Like, I don't know.
I remember the hotel manager in the documentary saying it was 80 in the time that she stayed there for 10 years.
Well, Google's saying 16.
Yeah,
But
I'm
maybe
just
60 mysterious
throwing
deaths.
up all the numbers. That,
Yeah,
you know.
so yeah, that's the small history. It's really close to Skid Row. It's meant to be affordable. They have rooms where you can share with other people. I guess like a hostel type room. And yeah, so that's where Elisa decided she wanted to start her journeys, be independent, and visit the hotel. And they had separated the hotel into, they had the Cecil main building, and then they had a separate stay on main, and they made it look really nice, and brought more people. And that's where she ended up booking to stay on the stay on main, which is still attached to Cecil Hotel, but it looked, separated the guests of the hotel to the, what do you call them, like the people that live there, I should
The
say.
permanent guest from the non-permanent guest.
Yeah.
But the stay on main was supposed to like spruce it up and like give it a different, what's the word, rebrand, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that how you saw it?
Yeah. Even though they're all going to meet in a lift as soon as they leave the lobby, but
I mean, yeah, that was the common link, the lift. So at one point, I mean, there's footage. You'll see the footage where Elisa Lam went into the lift and she pressed several buttons in the lift. The lift didn't close, and she ended up not taking the lift and then walking. And basically, that footage was the last footage that was ever taken of her. At first, when you saw that footage, what did you think?
I guess because the case was solved, I didn't want to, in my head, jump to conclusions, but it was just I don't want to say crazy. It was, I couldn't understand what she was trying to do, because obviously at first when you're watching the footage, you're looking at it as if to say like she's running from something or someone. Well, not even say something, she's running from someone, and she's in a rush, and she's panicking. But then I don't know. I can't say if I was in that situation, I'm running from someone, would I run to a lift? Because I feel like that would be the worst place to go. But so that's what it looked like. So obviously I'm sitting there watching her run to the lift, and because nobody had come by then, because if someone was after her, that person would have caught up by then, because she was, I don't know how long in actual time it was, but whoever, if someone was actually after her, I'm going based on at that time period, not based on what actually happened when we realised the truth. But I just didn't really understand what was going on. And then she ran out the lift again, looked like she was talking to someone. So I did not understand at that time period what was going on.
What I thought about the lift, I agree with you that I thought she was running from someone, and that's the way it looked. But it turns out that she had a bipolar disorder and several other conditions that caused her to behave in that way. That she was on several different types of medication, and so that behaviour was based on those things that I just mentioned.
She was having her manic period, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But it just looked strange. Lift door didn't close, and it looked as if, one of my thoughts was that, because when you're watching these things, it makes you think of conspiracy theories, like the hotel was in on it somehow. I'm not gonna lie, that's what I thought. Like, how come the lift door closed as soon as she got out, and whatever. But there is a simple explanation. She got in the lift, she pressed all the buttons, and that's why the lift didn't go straight away. Or maybe the lift was faulty. So
I thought it said because she highlighted the floor that she was on, that's why it didn't close.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That too. I'm just throwing up all the possible things that it could have been.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you say, that's one of them as well. Yeah, she pressed the floor that she was on, and yeah, so why was the footage, the dates and the times tampered with?
Yeah, I wondered that as well, but like I was saying before, you don't think about if the detectives go and pick up the footage from the hotel, they might be getting the raw footage, but then once it gets released to the media might edit it and release what they want to release. I'm not saying that they edited the timestamps or whatever, but I don't think I ever thought about it until I watched a documentary that the media will edit certain pieces. I don't know if it's illegal or not, to make it seem like something. Make it seem like to fit their scenario, which it's kind of effed up to say, but I guess if the media want to make money, they want to make money. So I don't know. I'm putting it more to the media, whatever they've done on that side. I mean, I feel like in all the cases that detectives might have dropped the ball or been wrong, I feel like in this situation they explained every point to me. So unless there's something that I'm missing, I feel like this the only case that I've watched so far, in my opinion, that they've explained why there've been mishaps, and it's made sense.
Yeah, okay. And I agree with you 99%. But if the footage exists, the original footage, then how come we've seen all these edited versions? And like, I don't know, I'm not specifically asking you the question, I'm just throwing a question out there. If the footage exists, the original raw footage with the actual dates, why are we seeing all these edits? Why wouldn't the police have like released the actual footage? Because the original footage that they released should have had the original dates.
Yeah.
But we're seeing all these ones with the dates tampered with. And why would... And yeah, okay, so we agree that the media might have tampered with the dates, but why would the media tamper with the dates? Just doesn't make sense
to make it seem more creepy and make it seem like a catching story. That's what I think.
I mean, yeah, that does make sense. That does make sense.
When you're watching a Netflix special, you have a guy that was staying in a hotel from, I think, 90s or whatever, and you explain what the hotel was like, and then they had the manager, I think her name was Amy Price, and her experience of being a manager there, I don't know, something about her just makes me feel off. I don't know if because she's used to it, she just didn't seem serious. Like, I mean, maybe I'm taking it wrong, so I don't know her, but I just don't know. And then you had the British couple that stayed there in the hotel, and you go to a hotel and you know, okay, you go to America, you might not want to spend that much money in a hotel because you know what, you're not going to be there that long, whatever. If you sleep, you sleep. But you go to a hotel, okay, the water pressure's low, okay, that's one thing, but you turn the water on and the water is like a tint of brown, and then you admit on TV that you drank it.
To drinking it. But they didn't say, oh, we had to go across the road and get some Evian or whatever the equivalent of fresh bottled water is. They never said that. They were like, yeah, we drank and bathed in the water. So what else stood out to you?
Well,
brown water is definitely at the top of the list, but what else stood out to you?
The people that she was staying with said that they found Elisa, which was the victim, to be a bit strange. They didn't want to stay with her, so I guess the hotel moved her out to a separate room. Even though they said this, okay, they might have found her strange, but if they might have just not liked her. I don't know. For all that I know, there could have been 3 friends and they didn't want an extra person in their room. So
how did they even end up together? That makes no sense to me.
Because I think
was it a hostel room?
Yeah, so I think you just go with strangers.
To reduce so there's a room with like 4 beds in it.
Yeah, it had bunk beds in it.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay, cool, all right, that clears that up. So they found her strange, and that was unfortunately because of her bipolar and her.
Well, I don't know. They know that. I don't know. I'm not gonna say that's what it is. They might just not vibe. They might not have got along. They might could have found her strange. It might have had nothing to do with her mental illness. So I don't want to say all that. But
I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought they killed her in the beginning. That turned out not to be true.
Yeah. And Elisa was found 19 days after she was reported missing by I guess like a caretaker, a janitor. I don't know what made him look in the water. I think because they were getting complaints about the water pressure being low, so he went up there.
So 19 days later, he checked it out.
They were complaining. They drank the brown water for how many days, and they complained last minute. So he decided to go on the roof and check it out, and then that's where they found Elisa's body. You know, unfortunately, in the water tank, nude, and the police were called. So I think this is where, when the police were called and they found her, this is where all the mishaps and issues around the case had happened. So I think when Elisa first went missing, they looked for her, they couldn't find her in the hotel. And they went on the roof, they said, but they didn't look inside the tanks.
The police officer said they searched for her on the roof and they didn't find her. And he said that. I specifically remember him saying that, or words to that effect. He said that several times. But he never said, we checked the water tank. He never said that. So that means to me that he didn't check the water tank. He checked the roof, but he didn't check the water tank. That's all I'm saying.
But when he said that, you know, we didn't check it at the end, I feel like he did say it at the end.
Okay.
He felt guilty about it. He felt guilty that they...
What, he admitted to not checking the tank? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Okay.
And he felt really guilty that they basically dropped the ball, and if they had looked there, they would have found. And when I was reading, they said that they took dogs as well, and the dogs didn't pick up on her scent.
That's the element of the water, isn't it? Maybe the water, and the height and whatnot. I'm just speculating, but yeah.
Well, I don't know, if a dog can sniff out someone that's hiding in those vans in Calais, then who knows, the whole dog theory is the truth. They never said that on Netflix, this is what I'm reading.
Right, okay.
So she was found.
Like you say, naked and...
Yeah, and I think they said they had to cut a hole in the tank. They had to drain the water and then cut a hole to get her out. They had to get. They said the machine wouldn't fit in a little hatch that was there, so they had to cut a hole to get her out. Maybe they didn't want to disturb her body too much. That's why they didn't take her out of the hole part. But I don't know. Like, it was how big was the thing for her to get in the first place? But without going back and forth, well, actually to go back and forth, it's actually kind of sad to think if she was having a manic episode or depressive episode at that period, and she's feeling scared and running from something. The fact that she jumped in the water to hide herself, like, okay, I believe that the whole her suffering from bipolar caused her to have accidental drowning. I do believe it, but then now when I'm talking about it, sometimes it just makes me feel, it feels off, because obviously if I'm not suffering from bipolar, it's hard to understand. So to think that she was that worried or that scared that she hid in water, like, did she think that she was able to get back out afterwards, or was she just not able to process the whole situation? Because if you're jumping in, what did they say, it's 3,826 litres of water, there's a highly, it's really unlikely that you're going to get back out again. Unless you, I don't know.
So they ruled her death accidental.
Drowning.
They ruled her death accidental drowning. And like you said, it's what was she thinking, and that we don't know what she was going through. And I don't have a problem with her getting into the water and whatever she was going through in her mind when she got into the water. What I have a problem with is the fact that she took all her clothes off, and they did explain that. They called it paradoxal undressing, which people experience if they're going through hypothermia. So how I'm understanding that is if you're really cold, but you're doing the opposite of what's good for you, so you're taking off your clothes even though you're cold. That's the way I've understood it. And that theory and that concept all makes sense to me, but I just don't understand how she was physically able to do that while immersed in water and take off her watch as well. That's all I'm saying. And maybe I'm overthinking it, or maybe I'm not thinking about it enough, but it's strange to me that she managed to successfully take every piece of clothing off in a tank of water.
Yeah, I mean, when you explain it, yeah, it's, you're submerging that amount of water. How did she manage to take all her clothes off? But at that point, I don't know what her mind state is like, because I guess when you get to that stage of paradoxal undressing, you're at the state of being confused. You've reached that stage in hypothermia where maybe your body's starting to shut down, so you become confused and disorientated. I think it's like, let me not say what it's like, but that feeling of when you're drunk, you feel like you don't know what's going on, and you're doing things that you might not usually do. And this is kind of similar to the Kanika Jenkins case. The girl in, I don't know, I can't remember what state it is in America. She went to a party in a hotel, and they had found her, deceased in a fridge. And because she was kind of found with her clothes slightly off, it looked like maybe someone had tried to harm her, but they're basically saying it was the same thing. But it does make it look a bit different, because Kanika was in a fridge freezer, and they said that she suffered from hypothermia. That case is a different story, because apparently the fridges weren't working, so I don't know how she had hypothermia. And she had got to that stage of having paradoxal undressing, where she tried to remove her clothes because she was at that state. But she's not submerged in water, and she wasn't able to get her clothes off, whereas Elisa Lam's in water and she was. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't have put it better myself. So the girl who had the freedom to take all her clothes off didn't, and the girl who was submerged in water successfully took every piece of clothing off. And I'm not,
who am I to question what's been diagnosed and what's been found? But it just something doesn't sit right with me, and strange things happen. So maybe that's all it is. We're comparing these two random cases, but yeah, it just didn't sit right with me. But that's just me.
It's just crazy that two cases of paradoxical undressing, and people don't believe either one of them died on their own. Well, that's still another story. And so to me, I've heard it before, so I wasn't that. I didn't feel like, not like it was made up, but I felt like, okay, it does make sense. But I think it's just hard to explain, to understand someone that's suffering from mental illness, why they do the things that they do. So it's hard to think why she submerged herself or got into that amount of water, because she felt like, it's possible she felt like someone was after her, and, apparently her family, this is not a new thing. They've experienced her having kind of these episodes. But obviously this one she was alone, so, this one was, was fatal, but, who knows what she was running from or what was in her head to make her, jump in that water. Did she think she was able to get back out? And it's, it's kind of sad and unfortunate she jumped in the water or got into the water. So in the Netflix special, you had the, rock, heavy metal artist, what was his name? Pablo Camilo, who went by the stage name Vergara. And I guess because at the time it was 2013, so by then, a lot of people now, they even mention the fact that a lot of people now, because they get into internet cases, they do the whole detective thing. So, they try and solve the case and, sometimes accuse the wrong people. So at the time period, he had stayed at the hotel, I think, a year before.
A whole year.
Before Elisa was there and she was discovered deceased. And I think because of his persona and what he does and what he raps about, what he sings about, people assumed that he had killed Elisa. I don't even know what the connection is. It didn't even really make sense, like, because if he's there a whole year beforehand, I really don't know how they drew that connection, because she wasn't there in that state. She wasn't in the country. She was probably in Canada at the time, so I don't really know how they drew that connection. So I guess sometimes when you have the you have the Facebook groups, or even with, what's that case that was on there, don't F with cats, and you had the group that was looking for that guy. What was his name? The guy that had committed that murder in the don't F with cats case. You had the group that were some of them did contact the wrong person, and it could lead to like cyberbullying and whatnot. So bearing in mind, I mean, I don't think I would, but when you're in a case at that time period and you're seeing it play out live, maybe you are tempted to go and see if you can solve the case, and the detectives missed that, so I'm going to do this. But, you should be mindful that now this guy that had nothing to do with it, his life's kind of ruined now.
Exactly.
And for nothing. And he didn't get an apology.
He's sitting there depressed, like he was cut up. I watched that, obviously what you're talking about, and then I watched some interviews after with him, and it literally, like you say, it ruined his life. Like, we're not all investigators, so and if you're gonna do it, dates aren't really hard to marry up. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they must have known that he was there a year before, because how would they even know that he was there? So they must have known the dates.
I don't even think it was that deep. I don't even think their research was that deep. It was like, he had some dark lyrics, he stayed at the hotel, yeah, he must have done it. That was as simple as it was. That was as basic as it was. Because like you say, if they had the dates, if they looked at the dates, they would have seen that they weren't there at the same time. So I don't even think they bothered to check.
And there was confusion around the coroner when he wrote down what the cause of death was, and he had crossed it out and did something else. I think, like the rest of us, if you see that situation, for him, it didn't make sense either. And I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I'm not a coroner, so I don't know how it works and whatnot, but he was probably confused as well. And then they spoke about when the police went to the crime scene on top of the roof, they were told that the hatch was found open, but when it got reported to the media, another detective or whoever he was, not a detective, maybe a police officer, I don't know, let me call him police officer, had reported to the media that it was closed. So I think from it going to being open and reported that it was closed left a little of confusion with people that are following the case.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. In some of these cases, it feels like, not to criticise the police, but if the police were extra efficient, some of these things would have been picked up on. There was one more thing I was going to say. Shit. Oh, one thing that sort of frustrated me is that the hotel manager said that people would go on the roof a lot, and obviously you're managing a hotel, you need to protect the safety of people, and apparently there was an alarm on the door, but they disabled the alarm because people would just keep going on the roof. And her response was, imagine, it's a popular hotel, the alarm would just keep going off, so we disabled it. That feels like a shortcut to me. I mean, we're talking about people's safety. Just that there was an alarm on the door for a reason, and then you just took it off.
You're trying to spend all this money to renovate it and make it look good, and you do a stay on main, but you don't want to keep the alarm on the roof door.
Yeah.
It's not even that someone could have drowned. Someone could have just fell off the side.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're in a hotel where you just said that you have this many deaths, but you okay. I mean, like I said earlier, she had passed away in 2013, and then 2 years later, 2015, someone else had died in the hotel as well. It's unfortunate. I don't even want to say that the hotel's setting this up for people to come around there, because this is a joke. You can't. It was a good Netflix series. It keeps you very enticed and interested in what's going to happen next. But I don't know. I felt like it could have been a shorter series.
It's weird because I don't feel like watching it there was any irrelevant information, but at the same time I do agree that it was a bit too long for I think what they did was create suspense and show you all these avenues. Oh, the lift, why didn't the lift door close? They're creating suspense.
She met a delivery guy to get the books.
And stuff like that. And it's like, oh, well, who was he? Was he a gangster? No, he was just an Amazon dude. Or whatever. Probably not Amazon, but
because Amazon would have left it at the front of the hotel on the floor.
They tried to create suspense and drag it out, and I was like, while I was watching it, you know what? While I was watching it, I wasn't like, this is too long. But when I got to the end and they're just saying accidental death, and I'm like, okay, so you could have told me this. You could have shortened this, made it two.
But they did it good, because they were when you watch a Netflix thing, it's making you feel like you were in that moment in 2013 when everybody's watching the case, watching the release.
So you're going through that journey as well.
Yeah, so and that's the case. I would say they did a good job, but not saying disappointed, like you wanted her to be murdered or anything like that. But it's kind of disheartening, it's upsetting, and when you watch other people talk about how, well, maybe I'm taking it wrong, people, they were on this wild goose chase to see what mysterious thing happened when, it was just mental illness that was it. It's kind of just felt like, it's kind of unfortunate. Even though some people did think it was paranormal stuff, and to me, I don't know, the paranormal thing, I feel like it could happen, but that in this situation, no.
I'm not even going to lie to you. And I'm not making light of this situation. But just with all the strange things that happened, some were explained, yes, I agree. But I'm more inclined to believe it was paranormal stuff than it was accidental death. And I'm not saying that I totally believe it was paranormal stuff, but what I am saying is that I'm not 100 that it was accidental. If that makes any sense.
So you don't think the bipolar contributed? Or it did?
It contributed to some of her behaviour.
So her being in her manic state reacted to the paranormal stuff that was going on, you think?
You're asking me specific questions now, and I'm not going to go that deep and say, oh, this is why it was paranormal. I'm not going to do that. But
Well, all those deaths that have been happening there, there's probably a whole load of spirits in there, isn't it?
I mean, maybe they should get like a healer to like spiritually cleanse that place.
Or just knock it down and start again.
So you wouldn't stay there?
No.
Not even one night?
I wouldn't even stay there just for a
Would you
YouTube
walk
video.
in? Would you walk in?
I'd walk in, but I'm not sleeping there.
Would you go to one of the rooms?
No. Sometimes it's like, it's better to see things from far. Like, even there's, I mean, maybe people are genuinely interested, yeah, but there's like, you know, people, the YouTubers going there and they're like, oh, we're at this famous, you know, a Cecil Hotel, and I get it because it gets you views and it's exciting and whatnot, but it's a, you know, it's a bit deep in my opinion. So yeah, it's unfortunate that she passed away, you know, and I hope that they've taken better measures and, you know, sorted the hotel out a bit. So, well, I hope after the death after Elisa, you know.
Can I just say though that people were going back and they were like, yeah, we went on the roof again.
No. Do you think the family are wrong for suing the hotel?
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just make this video a bit shorter, and hope you just liked our small review, even though we know that most of you are probably only watching 6 minutes of it anyway, but
Sorry.
so thanks for watching this video, and we'll be back with another true crime analysis.
We're looking at the analytics, guys. Some of you. We're gonna be releasing the audio from our videos and putting it onto Spotify.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another true crime analysis.